Victorian Labor MP Andrew Giles has had a lot of time to think about the impacts of loneliness thanks to COVID-19.
When I did a quarantine in a hotel down the road from Parliament House, I've got to say that was a pretty isolating, confronting experience, particularly on the weekend. And I guess parliamentarians were used to being busy people, and the absence of all connection and focus I found quite difficult.
All up, he did a month in quarantine last year, and he's certain he's not the only one who felt the impact.
The more I looked into loneliness, the more concerned I was that this is something that we needed to be taking much more seriously as a political question, not just as something that we might talk about to our friends.
Today he's launching the Parliamentary Friends of Ending Loneliness with Liberal MP and psychologist Dr. Fiona Martin.
Loneliness is probably one of the biggest public health issues of the 21st century. It has huge impacts on people's not only mental health but also their physical health.
Dr. Martin wants us to revisit how we think about loneliness.
Loneliness is a subjective feeling, so you can actually be surrounded by people but feel lonely. So it's not physical, social isolation, it's sort of psychological isolation. So that's the difference.
One of the group's priorities will be looking at how healthcare professionals identify and treat the issue.
It's not the first thing that health professionals look for, and so helping GPs and other health professionals to be able to identify loneliness when they come into a consultation is part of this addressing loneliness.
I think that's really what's lacking in mental health care, is that psychologists and very, very trained clinicians in the field do not understand what loneliness is.
Dr. Michelle Lim is the chairperson of a network of organisations called Ending Loneliness Together.
It's not going to be resolved by one group or, one psychologist. We have to all contribute and pitch in to actually address loneliness, which is very clearly the next public health priority globally.
She's pleased politicians are taking notice of a problem that's troubling around 1 in 4 Australians.
People think that loneliness is a bad word. It says something about the person that feels lonely. It says something that there's something wrong with you. People don't like you because you're a loser. And so in the scientific literature, there's a clear gender bias. So more women are willing to say, yeah, I feel lonely, whilst men, especially older men, is quite clear in the scientific research that I've looked at, often denying feeling lonely.
And co-chair of the Parliamentary Friends of Ending Loneliness, Andrew Giles, is hoping the group can be part of that change.
For me, the Parliamentary Friendship Group is a way, in the first instance, of trying to deal with the stigma that is attached, that prevents many people from talking about how they're feeling and how important human connection is to them.
That's Victorian Labor MP Andrew Giles ending Claudia Long's report. Japan and the UK have appointed ministers to steer their responses to the problem. Should Australia also adopt a minister for loneliness? Today's episode of The Signal explores that. You can find it on the ABC Listen app or wherever you get your podcasts.